got my Mickey Mouse sweater on this morning, so you know this is going to be a good video. The gentleness that you show yourself is the gentleness you can show with others. So how you treat you is how you treat other people. And there's a little bit of sadness in there because we're all way, way too hard on ourselves. We don't accept who we are, and therefore we can't accept who other people are. It doesn't matter what kind of lifestyle somebody has as long as they're not hurting anyone in the process, you know? So sexuality, political beliefs, musical tastes, taste in movies, none of it has any bearing on anything other than judgment. Because the peace that you feel is a direct reflection of the traumas that you've faced single-handedly. It's a very strange thing. The more you go into the traumas, how they can kind of blossom out and show you parts of yourself that you were just too afraid to look at. So if you look at your awareness as the parent, the all-knowing, all-loving, all-caring parent, and your traumas are the frightened little children, parent those children like you should have been parented. You can't blame your parents for not responding the way that you needed them to. You don't have to take away the accountability that they did what they did, but they were just not equipped to handle their own inner child, let alone a little version of themselves. You show me a healthy child and I'll show you a healthy parent. And there's no clout in that. There's no ego in that, because that's just what you should be doing. You have to treat your children the way you treat your inner child. And the only way to do that is to go through all the hurt and the pain, find where it is, find what it's representative of, and give that child a hug. Because the inner child is actually the inner demon. It's the scary parts of ourselves that make rash decisions, that try to self-soothe with alcohol and drugs, food, horror movies. It's the part of ourselves that we've ignored for way, way too long. Because when you really start loving yourself and you realize that you're going to make mistakes, you're not perfect, and you're not supposed to be, because there's no such thing as perfection. Perfection is just another word for self-identification, self-judgment, self-denial. Because that's all we do with it. We use it to judge ourselves. We use it to keep ourselves in pain, because that's all we've ever known. And in that is a little bit of forgiveness. Oh, that's not a little bit, it's a lot of forgiveness. Because when you realize that thing about yourself, it's really easy to forgive other people for their misdemeanors. Because we're all going through it. We're all experiencing pain and suffering in our own special way. But we have to get to a point where we realize it's not who we are. It's just something we're experiencing, because that inner child, that inner demon, needs to come out, and it needs a hug. And that hug is just understanding. It's acceptance and it's acknowledgement. I am feeling this way. Well, why? It's like the Ramana Maharishi quote of the I am. It's one of the greatest meditations you can ever do, because it brings things up. That's what plant medicine does too. It's a way of bringing the ego forth so you can cry it out. So you can accept yourself on another level and see the same patterns popping up. and unravel them. Let them just settle. The best way to make muddy water clean is to leave it alone. Let it sit there. Just be aware of it. You don't need to self-identify. You don't need to judge. You just need to acknowledge and accept. What you did 20 years ago should not be impacting you right now, good, bad, or indifferent. Because we do make mistakes. We're supposed to. There's no perfection. There just is. And in that isness is being. And, I don't even know if the job will ever be done, if there will ever be a place of finality to everything, because consciousness is always going. You're becoming more and more conscious as you go along. And as you become more conscious, those old traumas surface quicker, and they get a little easier to handle because they're not as terrifying. They're not as scary. They're not that monster in the closet that you've been afraid of your whole life, that you've been hiding under the covers trying to avoid. It's right out there, instantly, in your face, and then you can look at it and decide. So whatever your method is, meditation's great, awareness is great, mindfulness is fantastic, exercise, I've known people that have had breakthroughs during a yoga session. It happens a lot, but you need to be open to it. And the only way to be open to it is to get to the point where you're finally tired of playing the same character that you've been playing your whole life. You know the one. The one that foo-foos things. Because it really doesn't matter what other people are doing or feeling or thinking. It matters what you're doing, feeling, and thinking. So I know how painful this all can be. You're going into places you haven't maybe never been into. Dark, cobweb-ridden rooms that are absolutely terrifying. Places that you hide your most treasured pains. Because we're afraid of not being able to self-identify. We're really afraid of who we actually are underneath all of this, because there's nobody there. It's a liminal space. It's this big open space, and there's nothing in there, and that is terrifying. But if you sit in there long enough and you're really quiet, you find that place is made out of love. Self-love, external love, gratitude, joy, presence. And that's the only way you can become more present, is by realizing that the things that have terrified you your whole life are not who you are. They're representations of an identity that is not necessary for your furtherment. I'm a huge proponent of taking naps. Napping when it's necessary, right? And it can be just a 20-minute nap, just enough to slide under. And then as soon as you get up, set in mindfulness. Meditate. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to, you just don't want to try to fall back asleep. You want to be in the space between sleep and wakefulness. And in that is where all the things come up. You've got to be a soldier. You've got to be a warrior. You have got to be the person that is not afraid of going into that place. And once you slide into that meditative presence between wakefulness and sleep, the ego will churn. The thoughts will come. One really good trick, if you're going to get anything out of this video, one really good trick. People have asked, how do you know the difference between a present thought and an ego thought. And the best way to do that is when it comes in, ask it to say love. Just say love. And generally it'll dissipate. And if it doesn't dissipate, then it's something you need to look at. It's something you need to be aware of. It's a moment that you need to take accountability for. Because the truth is, the higher self loves the inner self regardless of what it does. There's no sin. There's no judgment. It's just us, individually, representing ourselves through Source. And Source is made out of love. It invented it. That was the very first feeling. So anything that's loving and caring, without judgment, shame, guilt, denial, whatever, anything that's outside of the spectrum of love is not who you are. That's how you make really good decisions. If there's any other feeling except for love or excitement or passion, don't do it. Because chances are you're just repeating patterns. If you're doing a thing because you're afraid something else will happen, that's wrong. And it's not wrong. It's wrong for you. It's not wrong for anybody else, because people are going to do what they need to do. You can't wake anybody up. You're not going to just suddenly imbue them with enlightenment because you've discovered yourself. It's not your job anyway. That's God's thing. That's not you. All you can do is just be kind, and if somebody asks for help, if you can do it, do it. You don't need to feel ashamed or guilty for not giving the homeless guy, your last $20, because he's standing next to the freeway freezing. Whatever you're compelled to do is whatever you're compelled to do. But don't get devoured by it. Don't make it your identity. If you can lend a hand, lend a hand. Do things that don't harm other people, especially you. Don't do things to harm yourself. We like to punish ourselves for things. We really do. It's self-sabotage. And if you look around, a lot of people do it. They get to that winning point, man, and then they just implode. It's because they secretly believe that they don't deserve the credit that they actually do deserve. If everything is Source and there's nothing outside of Source, that means you are too. And if you are, then what are you getting down on yourself about? It's ridiculous. Go make yourself a fucking sandwich. It's making tea. It's peeling the potatoes. Everything you do, do it mindfully. Do it in awareness. And when the little monsters come up out of your subconscious, greet them. Greet them with open arms. Anytime a thought that you're trying to fight comes up, don't fight it. Let it be. Let it come in. Accept it. And go, yeah. And then chances are, once you accept it, it will start revealing itself deeper, fuller, more vibrantly, more robust. And it'll tell you exactly what it needs to heal. The best way to raise your children is in a way that doesn't incite more trauma. So no adverse reactions to quote-unquote bad behavior. Children act out because they feel like they need to in order to get the attention that they want. Because they don't know how to process this shit either. They're closer to Source than we are, but they don't know how to allow themselves the space. And that's what you as a parent or as a friend. So when I talk about children, I'm talking about all children. From birth to death, those are all children. the 80-year-old guy that gives you a shitty look every time you go to pick up your paper in the morning, he's a child too. So when you're raising your children, raise them without adverse judgment. Tell people exactly what you feel. And I know it's almost impossible in today's society to be vulnerable and authentic, because it'll get you in some really gnarly positions, but there is always source, and source takes precedent over everything. So if you can make space for people as much as possible, I'm not telling anyone to let somebody run over you. What I'm saying is just make space for people, because that's all they're looking for. They're just looking for a friendly ear. And the funny thing is they will just drop the bomb on you. They will tell you everything about themselves, every pain they've ever had, and then they will ask for advice. And generally the answer for that is love yourself. You need to find you. You have to stop shaming yourself, and those and all of the quote unquote bad things will just kind of dissipate. You'll stop smoking. You won't want to drink anymore. You won't be going to the local brothel, to get laid, because that's just another dopamine hit to try to fill a void that you've already filled. So, as always, much love and peace and happiness and self-love. Thank you for watching.